Today we are discussing Goodbye Mr. Chicks by James Hilton. The first chapter. When you are sitting on in earth but not ill of course. You get very sleepy at time and the hours seem to pass like a lazy cattle moving across a landscape. It was like that for Chips as the autumn term progressed and the day shortened till it was actually dark enough to light the gas before call over for chiefs like some old sea captain, still measured time by a signal of the past, as Neville might, for he lived in Mrs. Wicket just across the road from the school. He had been there more than a decade, ever since he finally gave up his mastership. And it was Brookfield far more than Greenwich time that both he and his landlady kept. Mrs. Wicket Chips, Miss Chips would sing out in that jerky, high-pitched voice that had still a good deal of sleeplessness in it. You might bring me a cup of tea before prac, will you? When you are getting on in years, it is nice to sit by the fire and drink a cup of tea and listen to the school bells sounding dinner call over prep and lights out. Chip always wound up the clock after the last bell and then he put the wire guard in front of the fire, returned out the gas, carried a detective novel to bed. Rarely did he read more than a page of it before sleep came swiftly and peacefully, more like a mystic intensifying perception than any changeful interest into another world. For his day and nights were equally full of dreaming. He was getting on in years, but not till, of course. Indeed, as Dr. Merivale said, there was really nothing the matter with him. My dear fellow, you are fitter than I am, Merivale would say, sipping a glass of sherry when he called every fortnight or so. You are past the age when people get these horrible diseases. You are one of the few lucky ones who are going to die a really natural death. That is, of course, if you die at all, you are such a remarkable old boy that the Finland Maribel would sometime take Miss Wickets aside in the lobby and whisper, look after him, you know his chest, it puts strain on his heart. Nothing really wrong with him, only annodomini, but that's the most fatal complaint of all in the end. Andomini by Jove. Yes, born in 1848 and taken to the Great Exhibition as toddling child, not many people still alive could boast a thing like that. Besides, Chips could even remember Brookfield in Weathersby time. A phenomenon that was Weatherby had been an old man in those days, 1870. Easy to remember because of the Franco-Prussian War. Chiefs had put in for Brookfield after a year at Melbury, which hadn't liked because he had been dragged there a good deal, but Brookfield he had liked almost from the beginning from the remember of the day of his primary interview. Sunny July, with the air full of flower scents and the pick-pocket of cricket on the pitch of the Brookfield was Burnhurst, and one of the Burnhurst boys, a chubby little fellow, made a brilliant century. Quite that a thing like that should stay in the memory so clearly, whether by himself was very fatherly and courteous. He must have been ill then, poor chap, for he died during the summer vacation before Chips began his first term, but the two had seen and spoken to each other anyway. Chips often thought as he sat by the fire at Mrs. Wicket. I am probably the only man in the world who has vivid recollection of old Weatherby. Vivid Yes, it was frequent picture in his mind that with the sunlight summer day with the sunlight filtering through the dust in the weather by study.